Free college football picks, week 9, part 3. I'm Tony T here with our college football pick show here for week 9. Well, we're into part 3. We're going to have 6 parts because we're going to get all 47 games done. So we'll have 8 on this show. We had 2 on the first show, 8 on the second show, 9 here. So 19 of the 47 will be done after this one. So if you would, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Free college football picks are updated all season long. Free picks every day from all the major sports. We also have NFL. We also have NBA. College basketball is coming. NHL, European football, a lot more. It's a good time to subscribe. And also, if you would, support our channel. Thumbs up, likes. We greatly appreciate it. Then visit Tony'sPicks.com, our multi-capper site showcasing top cappers in our industry. Click the link to the hot cappers. Get signed up to a long-term pass. You'll find our top cappers here. And, of course, as you scroll, you'll find our premium picks on our site. Latest ones up here. From our cappers, best bets, each capper can designate one of their picks as a best bet per sport. You'll see more than one because the cappers handicap more than one sport. $15 pick. They'll show that one of those per day to showcase their service. 3 packs as well. Check our pick ticker for individual plays. And, of course, our promo code is Tony T. You'll save 20% off at checkout on our premium picks. You can access our page by clicking the link in the description, then click on the All Cappers tab and get signed up. We want to hear from you guys. Post your picks in the comments below. And, of course, our podcast. Every pick on our YouTube channel is in podcast form. Tony's Picks is the podcast available on all major platforms. Check it out. All right, let's go ahead. Let's get this one started. Rutgers and Minnesota college football pick. This one here is on Saturday. Rutgers improved to 4-3 after their 24-17 home win to Indiana. Scarlet Knights gained only 305 yards in the victory, 192 rushing on 50 carries. Rutgers eliminated the Hoosiers on the ground, surrendered 210 passing yards on 41 carries. They did recover from a 14-0 deficit. Noah Vedral, 50% completions in the win with only 4.7 yards per attempt in his 2 starts this season. Vedral, career low, 46% completion rate, 6.3 yards per attempt. Of course, Minnesota fell to 4-3, a 45-17 road defeat in the primetime hours at Penn State. Golden Gophers gained 340 yards with 165 on the ground on 46 rushes. Defensively, they allowed nearly 5 yards a carry on the ground, surrendered 304 yards passing on 33 attempts. Starting quarterback Tanner Morgan out with a concussion. The backup, Ethan Kaliakamanis, completed 41% of his passes, 8 yards per attempt on the season. Kaliakamanis, 42% completion rate, touchdown, 3 picks, 7.8 yards per attempt. 3 straight losses for the Golden Gophers was scoring a big issue. Golden Gophers, though, are holding teams to just 16 points a game. The play here will be Rutgers in Minnesota under 41. Old Dominion and Georgia State college football pick. This one goes off Saturday. Old Dominion fell to 3-4 after their 28-23 home defeat to Georgia Southern. Monarchs gained 461 offensive yards, 133 of them rushing on 22 carries. Defensively, they surrendered over 4 yards to carry with 192 passing yards on 27 attempts. Hayden Wolf completed 57% of his passes, 328 yards, 8.2 yards per attempt. Wolf on the year down from the previous 2 seasons, 58% completions, 12 touchdowns, 2 picks, 7.5 yards per attempt. Georgia State 2-5 after their 42-17 road defeat at Appalachian State. Team produced a season low 301 yards, 228 rushing on 41 carries. Defensively, they limited the Mountaineers' passing attack but surrendered 404 yards rushing on 64 carries. Panthers committed 4 turnovers. Quarterback Darren Granger just 39% completion rate, 3.2 yards per attempt, and a pick. Granger a career low 53% completions, 7.5 yards per attempt. Panthers' home loss to Charlotte, the major concern here. They did get up against their rivals Georgia Southern at home, but lost their 3 other home games. Old Dominion, good run defense and the better passing attack. Play here, Old Dominion plus 3.5. Illinois versus Nebraska college football pick. This one goes off on Saturday. Illinois 6-1 after their 26-14 home win to Minnesota. Final Illini, a Big Ten season high of 472 yards. They ran it for 220 yards on 54 carries. On defense, Illinois allowed 5 yards per rush, but only 38 passing yards on 18 attempts. Tommy DeVito, season high, 78% completions, 252 yards, 7.9 yards per attempt. DeVito on the year, career high 70% completions, 10 touchdowns, 2 picks, 7.2 yards per attempt. Nebraska fell to 3-4 after their 43-37 road defeat at Purdue. Cornhuskers posted 476 yards with 122 on the ground on 23 rushes. Defensively, Nebraska allowed over 4 yards per carry on the ground, 391 yards passing on 54 attempts. Casey Thompson and career low 55% completion rate in the loss, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, and a season high 12.2 yards per attempt. On the year, Thompson is completing 64% of his passes with 8.9 yards per attempt. Here on that one, Final Illini on the road holding teams at 285 yards a game. They have a 34-10 road win at Wisconsin, and they carry a 5-game win streak. The play here will be Illinois here at -7. SMU versus Tulsa, college football pick for Saturday. SMU enters at 3-4 with their 29-27 home defeat to Cincinnati. Mustangs, a season low 259 yards of offense, 80 on the ground on 31 carries. Defensively, they did allow 4.5 yards a carry on the ground, 200 passing yards on 35 attempts. Tanner Mordecai completed 60% in the loss with a season low 4.2 yards per attempt. He left with an injury and relieved by Preston Stone, a freshman who completed 40%, a touchdown, and 4.9 yards per attempt. In limited action this season, Stone, 55% completions, 5.5 yards per attempt. Now, Tulsa, their 3-4 team, after a 27-16 road win at Temple, Golden Hurricane produced 454 yards. They rushed for 299 on 46 carries. They limited the Owls on the ground and gave up 196 passing yards on 48 attempts. Golden Hurricane failed to cover, really was due to 3 turnovers. Davis Brin, 68% completions in the win, 7 yards per attempt, but he threw for 2 interceptions and one going for a touchdown. Owls, and that was for the Owls. On the year, Brin, 61% completion rate, 9 yards per attempt. On the road, the Mustangs are allowing 454 yards, 5 yards per rush. Golden Hurricane passing game, producing 342 yards at home with 9.3 yards per attempt. Mordecai injury, the concern for SMU. Play here will be Tulsa plus 2.5. New Mexico State versus UMass, college football pick for Saturday. New Mexico State moved to 2-5 after their 21-9 home win to rival New Mexico. Aggies gained only 225 yards, 106 rushing on 31 carries. Defensively, New Mexico State held the Lobos to only 269 yards. Diego Pavia completed 57% of his passes, 6.1 yards per attempt, 85 yards passing. On the season, Pavia 40% completions, 4 picks, 4.1 yards per attempt. Only at New Mexico State can you start with those numbers. Now, UMass fell to 1-6, hitting the bye week with their 34-7 home defeat to Buffalo. Minutemen gained 220 yards in defeat, 112 rushing on 41 carries. On defense, UMass allowed over 5 yards per rush to the Bulls, 277 yards passing on 31 attempts. Garrett Zoro completed 50% of his passes, 99 yards, 7.1 yards per attempt. On the season, a 57% completion rate, 8.7 yards per attempt. Now, these are 2 run-heavy teams with really poor quarterback play. Each team completing mid-40% of their passes. Play here will be New Mexico State and UMass under 39. Florida versus Georgia, college football pick. This one Saturday. Game will be played on a neutral field. Florida moves to 4-3 after their 45-35 home defeat to LSU Tigers as they hit their bye. Gators pushed across 384 yards, 199 rushing on 34 carries. Defensively, they allowed 4.5 yards per rush, 349 passing yards on 32 carries. Anthony Richardson completed 60% of his passes in the loss, 7.4 yards per attempt. On the year, Richardson, 56% completions, 6 touchdowns, 7 picks, 8 yards per pass attempt. Georgia 7-0 after their 55-0 home win to Vanderbilt as they hit the bye. Bulldogs rolled up a season-high 579 yards, 192 rushing on 38 attempts. They stuffed the Commodores' offense for only 150 yards. Stetson Bennett completed 80% in the win, 9.6 yards per pass attempt. This season, Bennett's 71% completion rate with 8.9 yards per attempt. Bulldogs have given up 22 points to both Missouri and Kent. Gators' defense, the issue here, away from their home field, they're allowing 576 yards, 5.4 yards per rush, 12.5 yards per pass attempt. Play here will be Georgia here at -22.5. Wake Forest versus Louisville college football pick. This one goes off here on Saturday. Wake Forest moved to 6-1 after a 43-15 home win to Boston College. Demon Deacons produced 428 yards in the game here in the win with 115 rushing on 35 carries. Defensively, they limited BC to 2 yards per carry on the ground, 259 passing yards on 45 attempts. Sam Hartman, 62% completions in the win, 7.8 yards per attempt. The signal caller threw for 5 touchdowns and a pick. This season is career highs here for Hartman. 64% completions, 9.1 yards per attempt. Now Louisville, they're 4-3. They come off a 24-20 home win to Pittsburgh. Cardinals offense posted 312 yards. They ran the football for 122 yards, and they rushed it 30 times. They limited the Panthers to under 4 yards a carry with 158 passing yards, and they attempted 29 passes. Malek Cunningham returned and hit a season low here, 47% completions with 5.8 yards per attempt. A running quarterback who rushed for 46 yards on 9 carries. Now on the year, Cunningham, season lows here, career lows I should say, 60% completion rate, 7 yards per attempt. Second game back for Cunningham after his concussion. Now Louisville does move the football for 450 yards at home. They are putting good pressure on the quarterback and hold teams at home to 313 yards. Cardinals defense forcing an average of 3 turnovers a game. Play here will be Louisville plus the 4. Cincinnati versus UCF college football pick Saturday. Cincinnati moves to 6-1 with their 29-27 road win at SMU. Bearcats offense produced 379 yards, 179 rushing on 42 carries. Defensively, they led both the pass and running game for the Mustangs with 259 overall yards. Ben Bryant, season lows here, 51% completion rate, 5.7 yards per attempt. Now in AAC play, Bryant is completing 58% of his passes, 4 touchdowns, 3 picks, and 6.6 yards per attempt. Now UCF, they fell to 5-2 with a 34-13 road defeat at East Carolina. Nice offense, put up 426 yards, 130 of it rushing on 32 carries. They did allow nearly 5 yards per rush to the Pirates and 311 passing yards on 36 attempts. John Plumlee, 67% completion rate in the loss, 296 yards. He averaged 8 yards per pass attempt but threw 3 picks. Plumlee against the AAC this season is completing 71% of his passes, 11.2 yards per attempt. The Bearcats defense has been good against this season, holding teams to 330 yards. Would expect Gus Malzahn here to avoid mistakes in the passing game and play in this one a little bit more conservative with more ground attack and field position. Bearcats, a really highly penalized team. The play here will be Cincinnati and UCF under the total of 56. All right, that was our college football pick show here for this will be for a Wednesday, week 9, part 3, and that gave us we had, the first day we did 2, then we did 10, then we did 8, so that puts us at about 20 of 47. So we'll get all 47 done in the next 3 days. This was just part 3, guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, set notifications. Visit our website at Tony's Picks. And remember our podcast, guys. Every pick in podcast form. If it's more convenient on the podcast, we can't always watch videos all the time. Have your podcast, Tony's Picks, Apple Podcast, Spotify, hopefully soon to be on Amazon Prime and more. Check us out, Tony's Picks Podcast on all major platforms. All your Apple users, easy to find. All your Galaxy phones, all your phones, easy to find. Look up the podcast, get signed up, and subscribe. All right, that'll do it. We got you covered for the overnight. Coming up this morning, 9 a.m. each time, it'll be Ramon and Mindy here with their morning steam show. We'll talk to you guys later this afternoon.